When you have to shoot, shoot, don't talk.
Welcome to the 3 is 2 podcast with your host, Greg German, and myself, Brian Swaw. We got some special guests today. Mark Jayne, the 133-pounder from that 2005 team, the two-time All-American, Big Ten champion, three-time Ironman champion in his home state, one of the most prestigious high school tournaments in the country, and proclaimed by Brian Glynn the second toughest guy on the team. However, we did some research, and I'm telling you right now, it's AB, Mark ABJ. And what does the AB stand for? American Badass. Welcome to the show, Mark. Glad to have you.
I'm an American badass. Watch me kick. You can roll with rock or you can radio edit. I'm a porno flick. I'm like Amazing Grace. I'm gonna some after I rock this place.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. I'm a big fan of you guys, so thanks for everything.
So, Mark, what is an Iron Beast?
Oh, an Iron Beast is so anyone's an Iron Man and Beast of the East in the same year.
Who did that?
Well, it's funny that you asked because I did that when I was a senior in high school.
That's pretty awesome. How many
That's-
state championships?
3 state championships from St. Edward, Ohio.
Yeah, well, I've got you on the background.
Oh, there you
some
go.
logos. Tell me about those logos. What's the bottom one?
Bottom one's my current school. I'm at Avon, Ohio. I'm teaching elementary there, 3rd, 4th, and kindergarten, and I'm the head coach at the Avon Eagles High School, and right in the thick of our season right now.
Well, you guys, how does Avon do in the Ohio scene? Are they up and coming? Are they big time?
We're not the level of the private schools like St. Edward, but in Lorraine County and our county, we're battling out there in our conference. We're right near the top. Our boys work hard. We're training them right, and it's a great sport. So I love having as many guys on the team as possible, experiencing and benefiting from the same thing I have when I was a kid.
We have to talk about, your career at the University of Illinois. You came in, with Heffernan and the St. Ed's background, and now St. Ed's, they did a documentary on him, how it's kind of come full circle. But you came in from Ohio, highly ranked, highly recruited, and then you're rolling through, your first couple years, and you get to that senior year, and you're ranked as high as I believe second or third. Walk us through that 2005 season, and who your competition was, and where you were looking, and how it was going for you.
Right, it's coming off a great junior year. Won some tournaments. My senior year, I was ready. I was strong. I was in great shape. I was physically, mentally there. Let me see. I don't know, was it my junior year? I think junior year I won Vegas, All American, and coming in as senior year, right around this time of the year, I won Midlands, which the year before my junior year I was runner up. That was back when teams actually showed up for the winter tournament, and it was like a real thing. We had like graduate wrestlers there. I had someone in the finals. I know Brian Glynn had Mr. Joe Williams at Midland. So it was a lot of times, sometimes tougher than NCAA. So it was very prestigious. I grew up watching it. So it was a thrill for me to win that. As a team, we were in Cleveland at one point over the winter time at the national duels. We're a match or two away from winning that. We lost to Oklahoma State in the finals. So that was another great experience for us. And it was like the Big Ten season rolling in right after around this time.
Walk us through that collegiate duel, and like you said, it was early. The tournament season starts first before you get into the Big Ten season. And what was the thought process of your team rolling into the Big Ten season after that finish at the collegiate duels?
Well, we thought we had a chance at those collegiate duels. We beat some good teams there. We had a couple things change during the Oklahoma State match. We would be ranked number one. We might have been ranked number one for a short period during that year as well. Our goal was to win that Big Ten dual season. We won the Big Ten dual season actually in 2004 as well. We didn't win the tournament, but We won the dual title or tied for it at least. So that was our same goal. We wanted to win it outright, then we wanted to win the Big Ten championship and bring home a trophy.
I want to ask you, Mark, your best memory and your funniest memory from your time as an Illini. Okay, first let's start off with your best memory.
Best memory from a match. Let me see. I think winning my Midlands finals match. That's always high up in my regards. It was an overtime match against a grad wrestler, Azevedo, and just my path through the Big Chain Championships in my junior year because I had beat some guys who I lost to previously. Josh Moore, he beat me at Penn State pretty good that year, and at Big Tens, I just wrestled one of my best matches. It was I think I ended up majoring him. He's the Cleveland State head coach now. And then the finals, I had a wrestler, one of the two wrestlers that were still undefeated in the country, and I beat him, and I won my first Big Ten title there. So those are some great memories there. And winning the Vegas Open, not as prestigious, but it was still a really, really tough. And I had some future NCAA champs I had to go through to win that one. So that one's a proud moment for me as well. Um,
So, so what?
Funniest moments. Oh, I don't even know. Funniest moments. One time, me and Brian Glynn, we made some friendly ragers, like nothing for money, you know. We kept that legal, so don't bet on it, NCAA.
It's all legal
But
now. It doesn't matter, Mark.
no, it was just whoever had the most pins, least amount of time at a tournament, just to motivate us or something like that. And it was Vegas. I think Glenn won it, and the bet was a Sunday bar. So I was thinking in my head, like, it was just ice cream. You have all the toppings you can choose from. And I really loved ice cream. And I was, always cutting weight. So ice cream was probably in the back of my mind. But then when it's time to pay up, we went to a regular, like, buffet. I'm like, what is this? He's like, this is the Sunday bar. It was because the day was Sunday. I was so upset that I didn't get ice cream and I had to pay for it.
Brian Glenn, he self-proclaimed himself the toughest guy in the team, but he come right out right away said Mark Jayne was the second toughest. So, I mean, how do you feel about that, acronym in there? And, who was the toughest guy in that 2005 team?
Um, Brian Glynn is one of the toughest dudes to take it to the mat for Illinois. I mean, coming in, he wasn't even a state champion, but he just worked his tail off, and he had no technique in matches, terrible technique, but he was 100% heart and effort and grit. So he's definitely tough. And I made him a shirt once from Strange Cargo next to Wrigley Field. You can make T-shirts there back in the day before everyone did it. And I said, made him a shirt, said, I'm the toughest guy I know. I gave it to him ironically because knowing that I am actually tougher than him. It was confirmed with Coach Johnson, our coach at the time, multiple times. He did confirm it was like one of the best honors things I've heard and compliment I was given more than anything else that I was the toughest guy who's ever coached. And it wasn't just a one-off. He said it a few times, and someone said Hef said that too. So I'll probably say I'm the toughest, and he's right there.
I'll give you that toughest comment because I'm telling you, there's no one better looking on that 2005 team than Brian Glenn, and you could ask him, right? He'll tell you that. Yeah, Mark, is that a fair thing? Brian's the best looking, you're the toughest.
Um, Let me think. In the summer, he always had those flowing locks before the season. I mean, Dietzen is pretty handsome, man. He was shredded like I've never seen anyone before. And he can probably pull it off because we had a heavyweight on a mission trip that year. We ended up being a model for like a decade, and Matt Waite from Batavia.
Wow.
But that was before he lost some weight, though, and really looked at his model looks down. But starting lineup that year, if he wants it, yeah, he can have it.
Well, let me tell you this, Mark. You got a ton of mentions in the all-time career records list. I mean, career win percentage, career wins. Those are two nice ones to have, two best ones to have. Yeah, single season wins, single season win percentage. You're listed up there very high. Now, that you and Ott have a lot of things going for you. But what about 2005 versus 2012? I mean, we're talking that's maybe their strength with Delgado, and they've got Futrell. So how does that shape out? How do you do against those
For
guys?
sure, too. So, man, don't sell this short, Mark. Show us that shirt. Look at that.
Uh,
Look at that.
Look at this.
2005 Big Ten champions. Look at that.
I don't
We
think
need to bring that back.
2012's got one of these. Maybe I missed it, but 2005 is on the year that says the Big Ten champions. That's what it's all about, getting that hardware. They may be excited if this is dual meet, then hands down, I think from top to bottom, we'll take the win out of the cells from the get go. I think Delgado, what year was he? A freshman, sophomore?
He's a freshman.
He's a freshman. Then this is Ott's best year, his junior year. Now he's I mean, they're both all-time great 125 pounders for Illinois, but this is peak Kyle Lott right here. We're talking about, I mean, Dr. Kyle Lott, Sturgeon. And this is before really the Delgado he took a big step his junior year, from sophomore to junior year. So you got to give it to Kyle Lott. He was in the finals. He was unstoppable. Little story about Kyle Lott. Sometimes I'd have to room with him and trips, and it was awful because he had to get up like at 4 a.m. I'm cutting weight all the time. My knees are tired. Everything's tired. He has to get strapped up in this machine that like bend his knee and do all these exercises just to be able to wrestle. The fact he was able to compete his junior and senior years after all his knee surgeries and everything is just show how tough Kyle Lott is. And he was so fast. I would love to see that match, but yeah, you got to give that to Kyle Lott. 133, BJ Futrell, self-proclaimed most pins. But we got the stats on that. Not so much. I think Dallago's got that one, right? I think I saw that in I think I saw them in both of their bios. They had the most pins. I don't know how that works out, but senior year we're talking dual meet. I don't think
BJ was only a sophomore that time too, and this was kind of Brian's argument with Jordan,
Mhm.
right? Is like we're talking just that year, 2005, 2012, not careers, right? Just that year. And BJ was 30-9 as a sophomore, that year, and you were coming into the season where you finished that season 25-2, Big Ten seed
Mhm.
one, ranked as high as third. So I mean, that was the argument, Mark. So like after those, walk us through that second match a little bit, and then Brian had the score. I think it was what 33-3 or something, Greg.
I think it was 31-3.
31-3. Oh, pretty generous for Brian. I guess you had to make it look realistic, like someone might catch a break. But I don't know if I get the major. I'd probably win by 6 or so, get a few takedowns. I never got right in time too much, so I like the takedown game. I like to break my opponents. So no one was in better shape than me. No one was stronger than me in my senior year. Explosive guys, they never touched me. I would control them too much and wear them down. So I'd say I'd win by 6 on that one. Maybe 3 or 4 takedowns.
So what would you think the final score would be if the 2005 team,
Uh,
wrestled the 2012 team in that year? There's also been some talk like maybe we'll do it again. Maybe we'll do it in 2025.
All right, that'd be nice. All right, that's the goal, right? Um, I give him 28-6. 2005 dominates that one. Again, we're starting off strong with me and Dr. Ott taking the wind out of their sails. And what we have going in 2005 that no other team really had is the toughness. All right, so we talked about, me and Brian Glynn are the toughness, but we also made everyone around us tougher. Ott was tougher. Cassio Pero was tougher when we were there. Those were their best years. Right? After we graduated, they both kind of took a step back. Everyone in the lineup was tough. And I believe that me and Brian Glynn, captains, that we made everyone around us tougher. So 2012, not so much. I mean, good.
Well,
So I get crazy, but they weren't 2005 tough.
speaking of 2012, we have the, as you called him, the self-proclaimed pin leader, Tony Dallago. Tony,
Well,
are you
well,
there?
two of them. There's two pin leaders. I don't know which one's the real one. We can clarify that.
Yeah, let's see if we can get Tony on here. We're waiting for Tony to log on and why he does that, Mark. I mean, walk through the back half of that lineup too, because one of the things that Brian Glenn mentioned to us was that Pete Friedel had a great season that year, and then it was Pete and Brian, then Tyrone, and then your heavyweight Mike Binky was kind of filling in for someone, as you mentioned. So walk us through that back half of the lineup, and not to mention the stud in the middle of the line, Tirapelli.
Yeah, Sarah probably that year got really into scrambling. Him and his brothers would always scramble around in practice, and Johnson wasn't used to it, so he'd always yell at them, stop him from getting hurt. But he turned into a very tactical wrestler that year. I don't know, was he a runner-up in the NCAA year before or something? So that was great. We had Dr. Deason. He had a Big Ten season, Big Ten dual season that year. Didn't do great as we wanted at the Big Ten tournament, but he helped us a lot in matches. And you saw this guy lift. Everyone would stop in the room and just stare at him because he had these muscles on top of muscles that you didn't know knew existed. It was his desserts, his splurging was eating strawberries. I mean, this is the kind of discipline this guy had. Let me see. Tyrone Bird, if he can stay up for his matches, he would keep it close, 4-2, 3-2, something like that. Banky was a beast. He had a winning record. Oh man, if you're ever in a fight, you would want him on your side because he can get scary mean. That type of stuff. We had Donnie Reynolds. I think he was on the world team coming out of high school. This was his best season as well. This year, battling a lot of the Reynolds knee injuries they always like to get. Oh, hey Tony.
Hey, what's going on, Mark?
Hey man,
Hi,
hey,
guys.
we're trying to figure out who's the all-time pin leader. That and that was the dispute. Like Mark was saying, self-proclaimed, but I'm walking through this and I see like 40 pins minimum for you, Tony.
Yeah. I would say, I think I've got that one.
I was confused because I saw on a BJ's bio somewhere it said he had the most pins, but maybe that's a typo.
Hey, that's just, I think that's just, the 2012 lineup. We just used to go out there and just lay it on the line and get those pins. So, it's, we had a lot on there. So
I think
Tony, we had Mark and we were kind of doing this, 25, 2012 team. And the big argument was just keep it for that year, not over careers, right? But, you're a four-time qualifier. And this is the talk with Jordan Blanton. And you mentioned it. Your guys went out and got majors, got pins, and he thought that could be the difference in the duel. But, walk us through that 2012 team, Tony, and this is your chance to kind of dispute what Mark had to say. But let's hear what you have to say in the defense of your team. And the pin, we're going to call you guys the 2012 pinners, pin team.
Yeah. So obviously, thanks for having me on. It's always kind of fun to sort of rehash, some great times that we had with some great teams. I apologize, I can't be on camera. I've got some kids running around, so if you hear some crying in the background, it's probably going to be something similar to what Glynn would sound like if I had him in a headlock, I'm sure. So, that might come up. But yeah, I mean, we had, 2012 we had a really solid group of guys. Starting out with Delgado at 25, I think that's the year, right? We went into Iowa and he beat McDonough, and that was kind of his big coming out party. So he had, he's a very solid, obviously, guy to start off the team with at 25. Do you guys just want me to go down the line?
Well, I mean, wherever you're comfortable, like you can jump around and, this is your chance to rehash it. I mean, obviously, we want to talk about 125 and 133 with Mark on. And then, we definitely want to talk about 174 and 184 for sure, right?
Sure.
The Jordan Blanton matchup and the Tony Dallago, Brian Glenn matchup for sure.
First, I wanted to mention that that Delgado match in Iowa City, Delgado beat McDonough twice, once in regulation, once in overtime. He got homered so bad. It was grievous.
So Delgado, obviously he's, one of my very close friends for a long time. He's a great guy. He was great to lead off the team, right? So, I think, from a momentum perspective, if we were to get Delgado out there moving against Ott, obviously Ott's a very, very, he's got a great, historical success, record and everything like that. But I think Delgado, coming in, he had a great year that year. That was kind of, like I said, his coming out party. I think he was, I want to say he All-American 7th maybe that year.
Correct. You're correct.
But yeah, he was always a lot of fun to watch. So I'll take the decision on that one for 2012. We'll start there.
And then you got the big Mark Jayne BJ Furchell matchup, where it's toughness against speed, and the consensus is Mark would have manhandled him. So would you have a dispute for that, or you want to move on to the next one?
This would have been a fun one. I think Mark, obviously, you're a terrific competitor. Always have been a lot of fun to watch. I think BJ Furchell was a very dynamic, very athletic individual who's obviously, I think he's still got it, right? Like I see like his Instagram and he's still coaching and still throwing down and scrapping. And, so Mark, as much as I love you, right? I'm gonna go ahead and take BJ on this one as well. I'm gonna say, we may be able to squeeze 6 in there. But I'll take the decision on that one as well.
Well, we can't let Tony jump on to the next ones we want to talk about, Mark, without a little dispute here. I mean, toughness against speed, and the one thing I think that gets lost in the shuffle when we talk about 25 and 2012 is that 25 team was, veteran laden, right? Had a lot of veterans. And Tony, your 2012 team was really young at the time. So Mark, come on, little dispute on that BJ Furchell before we jump into that 174-pound match.
Tony's argument was that BJ still works out. What does that even mean? How's that help him win a match? No, I've never lost to anyone who's more explosive, more athletic than me. Because you know why? Fatigue makes a coward of us all, and I wear my guys down. He can't keep up with my hand fighting in the first 3 minutes. All right, he'll be snap, crackle, popped by the third period. His head will be on the mat. He'll be tired. The fact that Tony is saying they win the first 2 matches, he's not even being realistic now. If you're going to have a real dialogue here, that's fine, but you got to be come back to reality, try the truth on for size for a little bit. He would not be able to handle my pace, my grind. Won by 5, 6, 7 easy.
174 was a debate with your vocal captain, Tony. It was, Jordan Blanton. He can out-talk anyone. He had a lot of times out-wrestle him too, right? But, the argument back with Brian Glenn was Pete Friedel, who had probably his best season and 4th in the NCAA. So how would have a junior on that 25 team, Pete Friedel, fared against the vocal leader at Jordan Blanton on that 2012 team who was a junior?
Yeah, so I think Jordan, love him to death. He's definitely somebody who you want to make sure you're sitting down if you start a conversation with him. That's for sure. So, Jordan's a great guy. He's been my training partner for years. We're still very close. We live, not too far from each other, and try to get up and wrestle around with some of the kids in his club. So, love the guy to death. I think Jordan's one of the toughest guys. He I'm not being biased just because.
Get to the point.
I would say we've got to go ahead and give that one to Jordan. Pete, also great, tough guy, but Jordan's just, as soon as he gets his hand on an elbow, it's going to get tapped. Okay. And you're going to get taken down. I've lived that nightmare many of times. So I would have to say, if it's up for debate, I'm definitely going to go with Jordan for the win at 75.
Listen, I got to fight for Friedel here because he was so underrated that season with all their studs and all, like stud after stud. Pete gets overlooked. he won Big Tens that year. He's clinched our championship rings for us at the Big Ten tournament by, I believe it was an inside trip on 3-time national champ, Jacob Herbert. All right. Yeah, he's not going down to Blanton this season. Sorry. Moving on.
No, this has been a great debate, but one of the reasons we had Tony on here is not just because he pinned everybody, but Brian Glenn was the 2005 team captain with Mark, but also the vocal leader or spokesman for this debate. So Tony, you're the pin machine. What happens? What happens when you and Brian Glenn fare up in that
Hold on.
184 matchup?
Let me jump in there. I think they got so many maybe majors and bonus points because their schedule is considerably lighter than ours. We had a tough schedule there. Even our preseason open was tougher than what their Midlands was that season. I mean, the level of competition they had, of course, they're going to get a little more bonus points. All right, go on.
Yeah, so I've got the kids running around right now. So, my son, you might hear some crying in the background. That's probably similar to what it would sound like if I had Brian Glenn to headlock. So you might be able to get a sense there. I think Glenn, obviously, love him as well. He's a great competitor. I just think that, 2012 was a really good year for our team. And I think I feel like I would have matched up just against anybody very strongly, but I think Brian in particular, our styles would have been, pretty good matchup wise for myself. So I'm gonna have to go with a fall. Obviously at 84. You can mark that up. I don't know what that would bring me up to. Is that over 50? Is that 40s? I don't know at this point. You start losing count after a certain number. So, but yeah, no, I'm gonna have to go with 6 on that one.
Yeah, so would it be like let's walk through that fall? Would it be a headlock fall? Would it be something you got on top of them and work something? Tell us how you pinned all these guys, Tony, and how you would pin Brian Glenn.
Yeah, coming from the East Coast, there's a little bit, different of style. So, I could pin from bottom, I could pin from top from my feet as well. So it was kind of, wherever he wanted to pick where he wanted to get pinned from is probably what I would have gone with. But I would say we probably would have made it through the first period. It would have been a tight match. Get into the second period, pick top, couple of turns, probably, work some bars. And then, what, I'd probably pick bottom in the third period and get some sort of reversal and pin, lock it up into a headlock is what I would go with.
How are you guys even the same weight class? He was so much stronger than you in college. It blows my mind. You guys are the same exact weight.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, you just pack the weight in different areas. And, Brian had it all in the upper body. I had it lower body a little bit. And, I mean, he was a big guy, that's for sure.
Well, one thing that I noticed that, Tony, you wrestled 174 as a senior, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So you were at 184 for the team so that they could fit in Jordan Blanton somewhere in the lineup. Otherwise, he's going to sit the bench. Jordan Blanton's going to sit the bench for 3 years unless you're kind enough to move up weight, right?
Kind enough. What does that mean? Don't they wrestle off?
Yeah, I mean, believe it or not, so in high school, I started my career at 112, finished up at 89. So I was, I was all of 89, came down to 84, and then probably realistically over time throughout the years was more built for 74. But yeah, I thought, it was a good weight for me, and no dispute. I think Jordan, either one of us could have gone 84 and 74 and flip flop back and forth, but we both were kind of comfortable with where we were at. So,
well, tell us about Gonzalez versus Bird. That's a matchup I want to see too.
Yeah, so Mario, he was my roommate for a couple of years. He's a freak in terms of just lower body strength. His hips, I've never seen bigger hips in my life. Okay. So if you're taking a shot on Mario, you're likely, and I'll be honest, I had a labrum surgery probably because of those hips. But Mario, he was super solid. Big Ten champ that year. Had an unfortunate run at NCAAs where he lost in the round of 12, but he was a very solid just athlete when it came to just getting on the mat and scrapping. He actually didn't even start wrestling, I don't think, until his eighth grade. Eighth grade. And if you ever get a chance to get a picture of what he looked like in his singlet when he was in eighth grade, please circulate that with the group.
Well, there was the thing with the Tyrone match, and so it's to me that Mario maybe had a slight advantage. However, the thing was, Brian Glenn said no one could beat Tyrone in a dual meet. Tyrone was Mr. Dual Meet. So, maybe not so finished so much in tournaments, but he was Mr. Dual Meet for you guys. What do you think about that, Mark? And Tony, one more shot of that 2005 Big Ten championship so he knows what he's dealing with here. There you go.
There you go. There you go. With the chief and all.
Hey, we need to bring that sweatshirt back. We need to bring that back. So whoever wins this debate, we're definitely going to bring it back. So, by the time we're wrapped
want to call
up
how much of a debate. It's pretty much a one-sided duel. Again, 31-3 or 28-6. I think the Mario Tyrone match might be a coin toss because Glynn did make some good points. Tyrone was a beast in the dual meets. He stepped it up them, so you probably win 3-2, 3-1. Slow pace match, controlled it, slowed things down to a turtle's pace. So Mario wouldn't get too many shots in. Tyrone probably wouldn't shoot much to feel those hips. But he did sneak one in there somewhere around the third period off a bad shot from Mario.
Yeah, Brian Glenn's exact words was Tyrone would take one shot and win. What do you think about that, Tony?
Yeah, I mean, he could take a shot. I don't know how far he's going to be able to get. You would have to run Mario out the building in order to get the other leg. I kid you not. So, I mean, if he's going to hit some sort of cutback, maybe. But yeah, I mean, Mario, he kind of had a little bit of a similar style where it's going to be a tight match. They're both going to be drenched, but it's only going to be a 2-1 match or whatnot. But yeah, I don't see that. I don't see them getting a takedown off the bat, but that's just me.
2 minutes of filling out each other.
So it was kind of debated back and forth, and both Mark and Brian think the duel's not even close. Jordan really wouldn't give us the score, but he was fact checking, right? I mean, Jordan has more stats about this 2012 team than anyone. So, Tony, what do you think the score would be? If we can go back on WrestleStat and match this up, what do you think the score would be in a duel?
Yeah, I think it would be. I mean, I definitely think it would be. No one's going over 25 points. I would say, it would be a pretty tight duel overall. I think you're looking at like 2016, 2015, flip flop a couple of matches here and there, depending on which wrestlers came out and showed up. I feel like it could go either way, but I'm going to go ahead and give 2012 the W on the board for this one.
What's your score?
I'm going to have to run through the numbers, but
don't be wishy-washy. Come on.
I think the difference in what Tony's trying to say is that, it would be a closer duel than the whitewash that Brian and Mark are thinking. And the difference would be that pin of Dallago against Brian Glenn. That's what I'm kind of hearing. I don't want to put words in your mouth, though, Tony.
100%. I mean, 6 points, I've always, 6 points is 3 more than 3 points, right? So there's when it comes to the dual score, it always is more beneficial when you're winning by bonus.
Well, one of Jordan's big claims was that your team was powerful. You guys got the pins. You have 3 guys from that year on the pin leader charts. You got yourself at 40. You got BJ Futrell at 38, and you got Jordan Blanton somewhere down that list. So is it that the pins are going to come in?
Yeah, I mean, I would attribute the win probably to a pin or two, throughout.
I think your last statement kind of pissed off Mark Jayne because he turned into a little Hulk there.
I mean, we gotta look back. We gotta go back to that schedule. I mean, their schedule is a cakewalk. Of course going to get those pins and inflate their stats. We had a real schedule in the national duels all the way to the finals. We had a
So
tough Midlands. We had it all.
So I think we have to take it back to the Oklahoma State match. So we wrestled Oklahoma State at Oklahoma State in the semifinals of was it the Final Four, I believe? And that was I think that one was I got secured a pin in that match against Oklahoma State, and we had two swing matches at 97 and at heavyweight. Unfortunately, we lost. But our schedule we were right up there schedule wise. I think
Well, Oklahoma State wasn't the same in 2012. They were in their peak in 05, 04, 03.
You know, we could do this all day long, guys, and this has been great. But the thing about this is that to be able to sit here and reminisce about two great teams, 25 and 2012, and bring you guys back into the mix and share with our audience what they need to hear and what want to hear about the great history of Illini wrestling has been fantastic, right? So what we're going to
Yeah.
do is we're going to continue this debate all the way through to the Big Ten finals with your teammates. And what we asked the guys to do last time was with Brian and Jordan. Who can we recommend to come on the next one? We don't have the same guys from the same weight class just yet. So,
Mm.
Mark, do you have someone in mind that we could kind of bring on the next one to continue this debate in the 2005 favor? Is there someone out there that you want to bring on?
I recommend Friedel. He or Terrapelli. They'll probably remember the stats and the details, a lot of those middle and upper weight classes, and have a different perspective. Yeah, they'll be either one of those two would be great.
Yeah, I see the 2005 where they're going here, right? Brian Glynn, the captain, he recommends Mark Jayne, American badass, the second toughest guy in the team, and now he's like, hey, let's bring Tirapelli on. Let's keep going with the horses. Tony, I thought it was great.
We all
Jordan
had
called.
horses. We were all horses. So
I thought it was great that Jordan called on you, Tony, because he wanted to stick it right to Brian Glenn and get that pin out of the way. So Tony, is there someone that you think we should bring on, in your defense and keep this thing rolling?
Yeah, so let's do Mario Gonzalez.
Okay.
Yeah, let's pass
it sounds like we got our next two guys, but this is awesome and this is fun. And I think what we're trying to do too is not only bring you guys back into the mix, but the Illini Wrestling is back in the MAC, in 2025. They're undefeated in the dual season, getting ready to host the Big Ten season. So before we sign you off here, Mark, what do you see in this 2025 team, and could they ever enter the conversation of one of the best teams in Illinois history?
I sure hope so. We've been waiting for them to step up, and they got a really solid squad this year. They're aggressive, they're attack, they're physical. So and they like to score, so that's what we like to see. It's entertaining. We can really back them and cheer them on. We got led by Ohio native Lucas Bird.
Tony, you've seen the 2025 team. You're local. It's got a bunch of Illinois guys. What do you see in that 2025 team? And do you think they could enter that mix and maybe challenge the 2012 team someday?
Yeah. I mean, I would like to hope so. I think, Mike's been doing a great job with the program. They've got the right mindset. They're really putting together a great team that's really dynamic that, is really set to go out and compete against anyone. And I'm really looking forward to kind of watching them in the Big Ten season. I know they're opening up, I think it's Ohio State, right, on the 10th. So, I mean, right out of the gates, we're going to get some real nice entertainment. We'll really be able to see where the guys kind of line up. So I'm really excited. I think they're going to have a great season, and I'm really looking forward to putting on my Illinois gear and getting out to some of those duels. So, and we've got Big Tens at Northwestern right down the road, so I'm going to be there at that.
Oh, nice.
Well, you're a great league guy, Tony, because the plan is, or my vision at least, is to name the winner of this 2012 duel on the eve of the Big Ten tournament here in Chicago.
Oh.
I'll be there.
And we're still trying to get WrestleStat involved, but if we can't, we'll figure it out. But that's the plan, is to name the winner on the eve of that Big Ten tournament.
Awesome.
All right. Hey, final score 28-6. I'll give them Reynolds and an overtime win for Mario Gonzalez.
Tony, you want to give us a score here real quick? Did you figure out the math?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. We're gonna go 2012 team 20, and I'm gonna give the 2005 team. You guys, it'll be 2017. We'll get a close. It'll be a close match, but we're gonna as we did that year. We're gonna tough it out. We're gonna get some big pins, some swing matches and pins, and we're gonna come out on top that year. So
2005, 2012, that wraps up the duel. Mark Jayne, 133 pounder, American Badass. Tony Dallago, the 184 pounder, the pin machine, the self-proclaimed best-looking pinner in Illinois history.
It's a battle for the ages. The 2005 Illinois Wrestling team versus the 2012 team.
28-6. 2005 dominates that one. Again, we're starting off strong with me and Dr. Ott taking the wind out of their sails.
you know, I've got the kids running around right now. So, you know, my son, you might hear some crying in the background. That's probably similar to what it would sound like if I had Brian Glenn the headlock. So you might be.
What we have going in 2005 that no other team really had is the toughness. All right, so we talked about, me and Brian Glenn are the toughness, but we also made everyone around us tough.
2012 team 20, and I'm going to give the 2005 team, you guys, it'll be 2017. We'll get it'll be a close match.